So let me tell you guys a little bit about the steel drums. So steel drums, born out of slavery. The way the story goes is, when the British started to colonize the New World, and they started to bring the slaves over to the West, the slaves brought with them their heritage of song and dance and drumming. And the British actually thought that all of that heritage, the drumming especially, was being used as a signal to form rebellion. And so the British said, hey, in our colonies, no drumming. So they banned the drumming. The slaves now wanted to keep their culture and keep their heritage alive, says, hey, guess what? We're not stopping. So they decided we had to come up with something else. They had to come up with something that would help them to keep their tradition and their heritage going. And so they started picking bamboo, and they would use the bamboo to create musical instruments, and they would drum and beat on these bamboo, and that's how they kind of kept their heritage going. The British said, hey, no, we're not having that either. So banned them from actually playing on bamboo. So the slaves, again, and wanted to keep up with their heritage, decided, guess what? We're going to just do whatever we can do and find whatever we can find. And so they started banging on pots and pans and tin cans and garbage cans. The British called them rubbish bins. So they would empty all the trash out, turn the rubbish bin or the garbage can upside down, and started banging on the garbage can to create their rhythms for their dances and things like that. And so the British wanted to ban the pots and pans drumming too, but the slave wasn't having it. They said, no, we're doing this. Something strange started to happen as they would bang on these pots and pans and tin cans and garbage cans and whatever. They found that as these metal objects started to actually lose shape, as they would bang on them, there was a musicality that came about from it. And they noticed that there was something sweet and pleasant and musical from the pots and pans as they started to get deformed. And so that started the whole idea of, hey, why not take pots and pans and tin cans and garbage cans and try to turn them into something much more musical, which they had done with regular drums that they used from animal hide and things like that. Now, the French, we love the French. See, the French, when the French colonized the islands, the French brought with them their Mardi Gras as we know it today, which is like their little festival. And the French actually invited the slaves to participate in the festivals. But then the British fought the French, won the whole thing and whatever, and said, hey, we're not having that anymore. So, but by that time, it had already been ingrained in the culture and in the society that, guess what? We're going to keep forging ahead, keeping our heritage, and trying to come up with this new musical thing that they've discovered. And so that created the idea of the steel drums. And so the big trick was, how do we get the steel drums to actually play more than one sound or more than one note? So they came up with this clever thing of hammering and chiseling. So basically what it is they would turn these garbage cans or oil cans or oil drums upside down, because the top had the fill hole and the air release valve. So they flip them upside down, totally flat. And then they would hammer it down. And they figured out that if you started chiseling out certain areas, the notes or the sound doesn't transfer from one part of the drum to the other. And that was the genius behind it. So once they got that figured out, they can now make multiple notes on one drum. And so we end up with a drum that looks a little something like this one. Like that. I'll walk around a little bit. I know you guys came from music, but I got to give you the story. So if you guys can see that, each one has like a little circle around it. That's where the chiseling is. And that's, I'm going to need a note player. So somebody follow me. So I'll just walk around so you guys can kind of see that close. So, and we have our little notes scribbled on there so we kind of know which note is which, you know? So that little circle, that's the chiseling right there. that prevents that sound from going. I'm going to come down to the back a little bit. I'll get you guys. Well, you know what? Let me go here first. So as you see those little circles around each one, each one's a note. And that chiseling is what prevents that note from traveling to the other note. So that's kind of what it looks like. So for those of you in the back, okay, I'm coming. There you go. I'm coming. All right, so that's it. So basically, this drum, this part of it here, that was flat, and they hammered it all in. So that's the back of it there. And now we do have to tune them too. They do go out of tune, just like a regular instrument. Yeah, exactly. So basically, what it is as they hammered it down and they chiseled out, they hammered it even further. Hammered it down even further. All the areas that were not chiseled around, they hammered that area down even more. Essentially what that did was pop the chiseled area up a little bit. And now they can tune that popped up section. And that's how they tune it. And they get a ball peen hammer, and they tune just around the edges of it. And they just hammer it back down. They used to use tuning forks. Now they use electronic devices and stuff like that, because the guys were going deaf from hammering all the time. So that's kind of how it is. So that's your steel drum. So Shannon, let me just borrow your stick there. So this is the idea here. Now if we do it in the middle right there. You see that sound resonates throughout the whole drum? If we do the non-note part, but if we do no transfer of sound. Genius. Genius. So out of slavery, we got something super, super exciting and musical. Just like in the Bible, out of slavery, we got King David, and we got all the prophets, out of slavery from the Israelites. So, for all of its woes and all of its evil and whatever, slavery has produced some wonderful things. I'm not saying that slavery is good in its concept, but from slavery we got a lot of different good things. Peanut butter. We got that out of slavery. Yeah, there you go. Give it up for peanut butter. There you go. So that's the steel drums in a nutshell. So now the appreciation for this music runs deep because of its history and its heritage. So we're gonna, I know you didn't come to hear me talk. So we're gonna get back to the music. What did I say we were gonna do next? What, Trust and Obey? Okay, so we're gonna do Trust and Obey, and then we're gonna do Bob Marley. How many guys have heard of Bob Marley? Great hand show? Okay, we got a couple of people. Bob Marley is probably the most well-known Jamaican artist ever. And Bob Marley has a song that I'm sure you all know, and we'll play that one for you right after we do a little Trust and Obey.